Have you ever looked at a massive project like a skyscraper or a huge global product launch and just wondered, how on earth did they pull that off? Well, it's definitely not magic. It's a blueprint. And today, we're going to break down that exact manager's playbook for turning these huge, ambitious goals into something real. It's a framework that works for almost any challenge, really, and it all boils down to one simple question.
So what is the secret sauce? I mean, it's one of the biggest hurdles for any organization, right? You have this big, maybe even kind of vague goal, and you have to somehow guide a whole team to get there without everyone getting totally lost along the way. Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack.
Really, the simplest way to think about it is this. They build a bridge. Planning is just the engineering process. It's about building a solid, sturdy path that connects where you are right now with all your current resources and limitations to where you want to be, that big, ambitious goal.
Okay, so how do you actually build this bridge? It's not about guesswork or just hoping for the best. It's a structured, logical process. So let's get into the nitty-gritty, the mechanics of formal planning with a really clear 4-step blueprint.
So here are the 4 pillars that hold the whole thing up. First, you have to define a crystal clear goal. No ambiguity. Second, you take a really hard, honest look at your current status. What do you actually have to work with? Third, you create a strategy. That's the how, the actual plan for crossing that bridge. And finally, number 4, you put it all into action and you control the process to make sure you stay on track.
And what I love about this is how you can see this process working in totally different worlds. Take the hotel. Goal is clear, 10 stories in 18 months. The status check? They have money, but not enough skilled workers. So the strategy is prefabrication. Now look at the bakery. Same blueprint. The goal? Double sales. The status? They've got great ovens, but no way to deliver. The strategy? Easy. Invest in a delivery fleet. See? The blueprint is totally universal.
All right, so you've got your plan. But let's be real, a plan is pretty much useless if your team doesn't get it, or worse, doesn't feel any connection to it. And this brings us to a huge challenge in management. How do you get everybody pulling in the exact same direction?
So for a long time, companies use this very top-down approach. The big boss sets a goal, and it just kind of trickles down the chain. The problem is, it often gets distorted, like a game of broken telephone. But the modern, much more effective way is called management by objectives, or MBO. And here, goals aren't just handed down from on high. They're agreed upon together. This makes sure everyone is actually building the same bridge to the same place. It's a game changer.
So what exactly is MBO? Well, it was made famous by the legendary management guru Peter Drucker. And it's a system where managers and their employees actually worked together to set goals. And that simple act of collaboration does something amazing. It aligns up what an individual is trying to achieve with the company's bigger mission. It gives people a real sense of ownership.
And this shows you exactly why MBO is so powerful. It's not just one thing, it's a whole system. It's built on getting people involved, creating goals that are super clear and measurable, setting real deadlines, constantly checking on progress, and giving helpful feedback. It's this complete feedback loop that really builds accountability and, most importantly, clarity for everyone.
But look, a great plan and a totally aligned team, that's still just potential energy. To bring it all to life, someone has to steer the ship. So if planning is the map, then decision-making, that's the engine. It is the absolute core of what a manager does every single day, turning that high-level strategy into actual, concrete action.
I mean, think about it. Every single part of a plan, every step you take is the result of a choice somebody made. Each decision is like laying down another plank on that bridge to your goal. That's why decision-making isn't some separate activity from planning. It is planning in motion. It's the steering wheel that keeps the entire project from veering off into a ditch.
And just like planning, making good decisions follows a process. It's not just about going with your gut. First, you identify the real problem. Then, you weigh your criteria. What's actually most important here? Is it speed? Is it cost? Quality? Then, you develop and analyze your different options, and only then do you pick the best one and get it done.
Okay, let's make this super real. Problem: your cement supplier just went bankrupt. Ouch. Criteria: speed is way more important than cost because delays will kill the project's budget. Alternatives: you've got supplier A and supplier B. The analysis: A is cheap but slow. B is expensive but fast. The decision? You choose B. It's a perfect rational process right there in action.
Of course, not all decisions are created equal, right? You've got your program decisions. Those are the easy, routine ones, like reordering paper for the office. There's already a rule or a procedure for that. But then you have non-program decisions. And these are the real test of a manager. They're unique, often high-stakes problems, like a sudden labor strike, that require a totally custom solution.
Okay, now let's add one more layer to this, because the environment you're in dramatically changes how you make these choices. The amount of information you have is everything. Are you operating with total certainty, or are you trying to navigate risk?
Now, the condition of certainty. This is a manager's dream, but honestly, it's incredibly rare. This is when you know the exact outcome of your choice, no questions asked. The classic example is putting money in a fixed deposit with a guaranteed interest rate. You know exactly what you're getting. There are no surprises. It's a sure thing.
Now this is where most managers actually live, the condition of risk. The outcome isn't 100% guaranteed, but you have past data, you have history that lets you estimate the probabilities. Think about adding a 5% budget for material waste because that's what it's been on the last 10 projects. That's not a wild guess, that's a calculated, data-driven risk.
And here is how this whole thing comes together so beautifully. Up at the top, you have your senior managers. They're making those huge, strategic, non-programmed decisions in really uncertain environments, like deciding which new country to expand into. Their plans then flow down to the first-line managers, who are making the day-to-day operational program decisions, like scheduling staff for the week, usually under conditions of known, calculated risk. It's a complete system, from the 30,000-foot view all the way down to the ground.
So in the end, it all comes back to this one really powerful idea. Planning is the engine. It is the force that systematically, step by step, closes that gap between your reality today and your ambitions for tomorrow.
So as we wrap this up, I want you to think about this. With this blueprint in mind, from planning to setting goals with your team to making rational decisions, your next big goal is right there in front of you. The plan starts right now. So what's the very first decision you're going to make?